I could give you a testimony of it. It's quite old. It's about 20 years old, but I can bring it right up to absolute today. And it's quite strange. Some of you may remember Mervyn giving his testimony to Ken, and Ken talking about Mervyn and his grandchild to be. I'm sure most of you heard that. And 20 odd years ago, I was in that same position. I had just become a Christian. It was August. I had become a Christian that April, and without me knowing, my oldest daughter and the youngest son had become Christians before me, and the other son and the other daughter became Christians after me. So I was about a 2 or 3 month old Christian, and I'm just beginning to hear and learn God's voice and be quite amazed at it and trying to figure out, is that God or is that me? And one night, as I went to bed, it was 10:30 at night, and I was standing there, and as I was just walking through the door to go to bed, God said to me, Tracy, that's my daughter, the oldest daughter, unmarried, Tracy is pregnant. I was absolutely amazed. I immediately rebuked the devil, and I went to bed, and I couldn't figure this out at all, and I went to sleep. And about 3:30 in the morning, I woke up to go to the bathroom, and when I came back, as I went to turn the light off, I looked over at my Bible, which was on the table, and God spoke again, and he said, read your Bible where you left off. And I said, no, I'm not going to read the Bible. It's 3:30 in the morning. I want to go to bed. So I got to bed. I refused to listen to him. And, I had sort of knew God's voice, but I didn't. I was so young. So I went to bed and I went to sleep. And in the morning I got up, and I was doing a voluntary job, and I went off to my voluntary work. And I came home about 6 o'clock at night, and the kids had cooked tea. Their mother had died about 4 years before. So the kids got the tea ready, and they gave me some, and then they all disappeared. And as I sort of ate my tea, I looked around me, what's going on here? And on the worktop was a letter propped up. And I recognised the letter, that the handwriting on the letter, it was from my sister-in-law. She was the closest to the kids. She had stayed with us while her mum was in hospital, very ill. And I opened the letter, and as soon as I started to read it, she didn't beat about bush. She said, Doug, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but Tracy is pregnant. So I sort of sat there amazed. What's going on here? And I sat there for a little while, and I didn't really know what to do. And time went by, and it got to about 8 o'clock at night. 8 o'clock at night, I looked over at my Bible, and I picked it up, and I would usually read a chapter then. And I opened it to where I left off, as God had said that morning, still not thinking. And as I started to read where I left off, I read these verses that I've found in the Bible now. This time next year, you will hold a son in your arms. Well, I didn't need any more confirmation that actually was right, that it was right. And when I confronted my daughter with it, I said, do you really think you were going to get away with something like that? And, she couldn't tell me. She wouldn't tell me. She was too scared. The other kids knew, but they didn't know the best way about it at all. But when you think about it, God's graciousness and God's love. Anyway, they went on, and the boyfriend did become a Christian eventually. But when Alex was born, Tracy had a lot of bother with it. To come to the hospital, and he was supposed to, and she didn't want to marry him, and this was looking bad. And I said, well, I don't know what you're going to do. And then one day God spoke to me, and he told me to go and talk to her, and told her that he said that she had to marry him. And he gave me verses which I read to her, and she cried and she prayed. It was the first time I'd ever heard her pray. And a little while later, the boyfriend decided that he would become a Christian, and they both got married. Now, that was 20-odd years ago. Now, when the baby was due to be born, the people in the village came to me and said, Doug, can we buy some clothes for the baby? I said, yes, you can, but you need to buy blue ones because it's going to be a boy. Now, in those days, you just didn't know that. And sure enough, when he was born, he was a boy, and time went on, and this little boy now has grown up. When he was born, I went to the hospital a couple of hours after being born, and I was able to pray for him, and I prayed for the Lord to come into his life and to do things in his life. That boy is now over, I don't know what he is, 26, 27 years old. This boy is a Christian band leader. He leads a band. He leads one of these heavy rock band things. And he preaches the gospel to the kids, the saved and the unsaved. And when he gets such a gang, when he gets the churches to do what he wants, that most of the time a good half of the kids are not churched. And yet he gets at least a third converted when he preaches the gospel. He married a pastor's daughter, and they now have 4 kids. They have 3 kids and another one on the way. And I'm sure that the oldest boy is about 5. He started to learn to play the drums already.